Thank you everybody for joining us. Just to let you know again that the webinar is going to be recorded and we'll be sharing that later on as well. Thank you very much to Esteban for doing our first of the accelerator webinars, and Esteban's going to be talking to us today about managing our research data and the use of Zenodo. Thanks again, Esteban.
Thank you, Kat. So welcome everybody. So today, as Kat mentioned, we are talking about our action data portal, okay, that we are developing right now, and we will finish maybe this month, at the end of this month, the first release. And I'm going to show you how to upload the sources to a research repository named Zenodo, okay? So first, what is the motivation? What is important to publish my resources in a public repository? Well, the first is clear, no? It's because citizen science projects, and the word citizen science say it, have to do science, okay? So it's very important that the data, not only the data, the software and other dissemination material that we are going to produce must be in a public repository, so everybody can see it. We see the example of the coronavirus crisis, no? That everybody is sharing the data, no? Is sharing information, papers, etc. Okay, so it's very important to all the outputs of our projects uploaded to a repository. Okay. Also, citizen science projects should promote open science principles. We are working with the people. Okay, we are working with the citizens. So it makes sense that these citizens, okay, can access to this information. If you remember, Oscar in Berlin gave us a talk about open science principles. Okay, if you remember, the data sets, okay, the data must be findable. Okay, you can find it with a proper identifier, accessible in a public space, like for example this public repository that we are going to see in the next slides. Interoperable. Okay, so you have to describe this data in order that you can link this data with other source of data, and of course reusable. Okay, you have to define a license, okay, and some terms or conditions that the people can use in the data or another kind of resource. And of course, results from citizen science projects should be open. Okay, we are working with people. Okay, so the people is doing a job. Okay, it's working. I don't know if for us but it's working. So it makes sense that they can get some credits about the data they are producing. Not only the credit, they can access to the data, and not only them, the society in general. Okay. Of course, we have always problem with to store the data. So in a public repository, you need a place to deposit your resources. Okay, and the public repository, it can be the place. Okay, and of course, if you upload some resource to a public repository or another space of the World Wide Web, okay, you need an identifier for sharing your resources. Okay, and in this case, a public repository can provide you of a web address, okay, a URL that everybody can access to these resources. And most important in research domain, you can be cited. Okay, things to learn today. Okay, so first, how to use our data portal, and we are going to describe the architecture, or less not in the technical aspect, okay, of our data portal. We are going to identify resources to deposit on our repository, create a community on Zenodo. We will see the platform of Zenodo is created by the European Commission, okay, and is hosted in the CERN, okay, in the European Center of Research Nuclear. We are going to upload resources to Zenodo. We understand the data, the metadata, used to describe these resources. Okay, we have to properly describe the resources to be citable or to be findable, etc. And finally, we will publish my project outputs on Zenodo. Well, this is the architecture of the data portal. So you can see here, I'm using my finger. So you can see here the URL of the data repository. Okay, And basically, the idea of our data repository is a website that uses some information that we gather from the Zenodo community. Okay, and you can see the different Zenodo communities. The Zenodo communities we have in action. So basically, we model our data portal like a collection of communities. You can see here the action community, okay, the general community of action. We will upload their deliverables, the slides, maybe this webinar, why not, okay? And of course, we will see another kind of communities. These are the pilots communities. For example, street spectra, air pollution, or sonic kayaks. They are uploading right now resources right there. So the main idea is, so each pilot in action can create some communities. They are going to create the communities, not us. Okay, we can help them, of course. We can give them support. Okay, but they are going the owners of the communities. Okay, they can control them and they can publish the resources, delete whatever they can. They want. Sorry, and we are going to gather the information of all these communities, okay, and we are going to index it in our data portal, okay? So there are different sections in the data portal. The first is the search tool. So you can search by text. It's like a Google in action, okay? You can search by title, author, or keywords that you define in your datasets. And of course, you can also search by category, okay, like reports, data, software, etc., depending on the content type. Another section is the projects. So we basically show the different projects inside of action, okay. You can see the pilot, and you can see a number with the number of resources they have in Zenodo, okay. Remember that the data portal, the data is not in the data portal, is in our servers, is in the servers of Zenodo. So you manage your own community in Zenodo. We just only indexing the information or the content in our system. And the other section is the list of the resources. So if you search some specific resource or from a specific project, you will see the list. Basically, you can see the title, the authors, the projects they belong, the license used, and some statistics that came from Zenodo. Okay, so this is basically the number of visualization and the number of downloads. Okay, but this is some statistics that Zenodo has. So what is exactly Zenodo? So Zenodo, it is an open access repository developed under the European Union Open AI program and operated by CERN. Okay, the CERN operates a big particle accelerator. Okay, that generate a huge amount of data. Okay, so there are a lot of experience to hosting data. And basically Zenodo allows researchers to deposit data sets, research software, reports, and any other research related with digital artifacts, okay? So for each submission, and this is very important and very nice feature of Zenodo, is for each submission, a persistent identifier, we say DOI, Digital Object Identifier, is minted, which makes the stored items easily searchable, okay? So it's like in our case, it's like, well, in Spain we have the national identifier of document national identifier, but for example, it's like the address of the data, okay? So if you put this DOI in a web server, you can go to the landing page, sorry, in this case in Zenodo, okay? But you go to the landing page and you can see all the metadata describing your data, okay? And also your data, of course. Well, we can start. So I want to show you the steps to publish not only your data, any digital artifact you generate in your project, okay, in Zenodo. So the first steps is identify the resources you want to upload. Okay, so you have a lot of information, maybe some data from here, raw data, process data, wherever, presentations I made in some webinar, for example, on congresses, etc., posters, software, images. So you have to classify them. Okay, so this is the one, this is on my presentation, this is my data, but maybe I don't want to publish this version of the data. I'm going to publish another kind of version, wherever. Okay, you have to classify it, categorize it. Well, next step, you have to create a user in Zenodo platform. This is the URL of Zenodo. So you can go there, okay, and click on the sign up button, okay, and create a user. So once the user is created, you will have to create a community. So it's very easily. You first click in this menu, communities, and later click in the new. So you will have to fill in a form with a title of the community, a description of the community, and other fields more. Okay. So we have the user, we have the community. So now we can start to upload resources. So first, remember, you have to identify and say, okay, this is the resource that I want to publish in Zenodo. So first, click in the upload tab, okay, menu, and later click in the new upload. Okay, very easy. Okay. To start to upload the results, okay, yeah, you can drag and drop files here, okay, in this screen, okay, or just choose the file from the window, okay. Once once you select the file, okay, or drag the file, okay, you have to click here. It's very important because the file in this moment, when you drag and drop the file or select the file, is not in the server, okay. So you have to start to upload, and you can click here, okay, to start to upload. So you can continue to fill in all the metadata fields, okay? So one of the first metadata fields is the community. That's very important, okay? So it is an autocomplete field, okay? Basically, it means you can start to write a text, okay? And the platform is looking for from the whole communities in the system, and they give you some options, okay? So first, you have to add your own community that you create previously, okay? That's very important. So you add your community, and in the case of the Action Accelerator outputs, of course, you can continue to work in the community, okay? If maybe it's not belong you, or you have material that is not belong with Action, that's fine, okay? But if in the case of the outputs of the accelerator in Action, you have to add two more communities. The first is the community of Action. You have to see the name here, Action Project EU. Okay, so you have to add it also. And the OpenID community. OpenID community is created to report outputs from European projects. Okay, so it's very easy to us to report outputs, data set, deliverables, etc., if they are linking in this community. Okay, it's very easily because the system, the platform of European Union detect automatically this information. Okay, and we only have to click accept. It's very easy. And of course, there is output from a European project, so it makes sense. Well, later we have to define the type of resources. Do you remember? You have to categorize all your elements, all the resources of your projects. So there are some pieces of advices here. So if you want to upload a presentation, upload a PDF file. Why? Because you will be able to use the viewer of Zenodo, okay? Because the viewer of Zenodo doesn't understand PPT, for example, from Microsoft, okay? They only understand PDF. So it's much better if you upload a PDF, everybody can see it in the same Zenodo webpage. So it's very good. Data sets are better in CSV format or JSON format. Okay, why? For the same reason that the PDF file, because the viewer of Zenodo understands the CSV file or JSON files. Okay, so you can visualize your data. Okay, on the portal. If you want to upload images, it is better to generate a zip file with the collection of these images. Okay, because if not, you have a lot of identifiers, and Zenodo is not designed to show a collection of images. No, you just only list, Zenodo only lists the images, and you have to click there and see the image. It's not usable. Okay, so it's much better if you are using images for your research, or you generate images for your research, like in the case of the street spectra, generate a zip file and upload the zip file to Zenodo. Okay, it's more easy. And you can be cited. You can cite this file more easily. Okay, and in the case of the software, it's basically the same. Okay, the same reason that the images. Well, if you have one file and identifier for each one file, that's crazy. Okay, so it's much better approach to generate a zip file of all your software and upload to Zenodo. Okay, or even if you are working with a GitHub repository, there is a connection between GitHub and Zenodo. So every time you make a release of your software, automatically the Zenodo generate a zip file. No, sorry, Zenodo. GitHub generate a zip file and upload the information to Zenodo. Okay, so it's very easy for us. So we have the, remember, create a user, a community, start to upload the file itself, okay, and select the type of resource. So we need to add more basic information. For example, the digital object identifier. So this identifier is going to be generated directly, automatically by Zenodo, okay? And if you don't want to publish your information, your resource immediately, okay, you can reserve the DOI, okay? And when you publish the resource, the DOI will be activated. We have to fill in the publication date, okay, the title of the resource, the authors of that's very important, no, to recognize the work of the people, okay. So you can add ORCID. This is basically a identifier used in the research domain, okay. Is basically the DOI is the identifier of digital objects. The ORCID is the identifier of researchers, okay. And of course, a description of your resource. More information, the version. That's very important. In Zenodo, you can upload different versions of the same digital identifier. So basically, as Zenodo works, okay, is, well, you have an identifier for each version, but you have a general identifier for all the version of your digital object, okay? So some advices. Try to use the same version notation in all your resources, okay? For example, if you name this is version 1 or version 2, don't say in other resource, oh, okay, this is version A, B, C. It doesn't make sense, okay? Try to do it exactly in the same manner. And another important advice is, it is a good practice to include the version number in the file, okay? Not only the metadata, okay, to describe your data. You have to do it. It's a good practice. You have to do it in the file name, okay? You have to add the language of the resource, okay? That's easy. Okay, it's autocomplete field, so you can start to Spanish, English, Polish, whatever. Okay. The keywords to catalog it is very important. Metadata field. So there are like two approaches. I like the hybrid, no? Okay, the combination of two. Basically, is use some generic words to make more findable your resource. Like, for example, pollution is very general, okay? So if the people is looking for pollution, your resource will show up. And of course, you can use also some specific words. Sorry. Why? To describe the resource, okay? Because, for example, pollution, and this is air quality. You can add a sensor, maybe the kind of sensor, okay? Whatever, okay? But more specific words, no? To try to describe the content of your resource. And finally, you can add additional information. Okay, this is a text field, so you can write paragraph 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, and it could be a nice place to describe, for example, if you use any quality process. Like, for example, I'm going to generate data from this sensor, and this sensor is calibrated following this procedure. We clean the data before, okay, something like that, okay? It's very good practice to do it, okay? And this is the place where you can do it. The additional information field. Another part, license, very important, okay? So there are 4 different kind of licenses in Zenodo. First is licensing related with open access. So if you use one of these licenses, your resource will be public. Everybody can find it and access to them, okay, and download it. Our recommendation is to use the CC BY International 4.4, okay? So basically, everybody can share it, download, remix the content, okay? They only have to cite you, okay? To say the attribution, okay? This data came from this project, and we can do it. Another kind of licenses, the embargoed access. So basically, in the embargoed access, you upload your resource. It is private, okay? Nobody can find it, okay? Until a date that you publish, okay? That you set up, okay? So remember, it will be private and until this date, okay? And for this day, the resource will be published, okay? With the license you choose. For example, you can choose the license CC BY International, okay? So remember, private until a specific date, okay? The restricted access. So everybody can see the resource metadata, okay? The metadata we are filling is public, okay? But the user doesn't have access to the system, to the data, okay? But to download it, of course, or to view it, but they can request for access, okay? For the owner of the data, you will receive a notification of some person needs to access to this data, and you can grant or not, okay? And finally, closed access. So you upload your data, but it's private, so nobody can see it, even the metadata. Funding, well, that's important. That's important too. So you can add your funding sources, okay? For example, in the case of outputs in action, you will have to name the project, okay? So basically, you can see here, you have to choose the European Commission, okay? And add the action. It's basically the number H24603, okay? This is the code of our project. Of course, you can add more grants, okay? More funding sources, okay? Not only action. Relations with other resources. Well, in this field, you can relate your resources with other resources that you are going to generate in your project, or maybe in other projects or in action. For example, if you use some software of action to generate some data, you can relate it here, okay? Or EpiCollect or another kind of surveys, tools, whatever. So there are some examples, like, for example, dataset is generated by some software, okay? Or paper where some software are used, okay? So in these fields, you establish a related identifier and the property of the relation is used, generated by, wherever, okay? what is the objective? Well, connect the different resources of our research. We call that research object, okay? That is basically a structure, okay, of digital artifacts, but related among them, okay, with some relations like is used by, generated by, etc. Well, another kind of metadata important is the contributors, okay? So contributors, this is not like authors itself, okay? The grade of contribution is more or less than authors, okay? But it's also important. So maybe it's a very good place to name, for example, some name of the citizen that contribute to generate this data or this resource, okay? Of course, if you have 1,000 contributors, well, that's very difficult. You cannot do it. It's more so you will need a lot of time to do it, okay? But for example, you can generate a file text, okay, and upload to Zenodo, okay, and say, okay, these are the contributors of Zenodo, okay, but not in the metadata field because it don't make sense to add 1,000 contributors. But if you have 4, 5, even 10 contributors, that could be a very good place to recognize the work of the people, okay. Also, there is another metadata field, is the type of publication, if applicable. Of course, if you are not uploading a paper or some report, doesn't make sense to fill in. And finally, the subjects. Okay, so basically in this metadata field, you can say if your data follows a specific vocabulary or an ontology. Okay. So basically, if you remember from Berlin, there's vocabulary is basically is a way to make your data interoperable with other. For example, if you are using temperature, okay, there is a specific vocabulary to model a sensor of temperature that is saying, I'm going to generate this temperature. The value of you see in the file is Celsius, degree, etc. Okay, something like that. And of course, you can, an ontology is basically a vocabulary, but you can define the relation between the properties and the entities you are identifying. And well, at this point, we have all the information. Even remember to click in the Start Upload button. So we have all the information on the file in Zenodo server. So we can click in the Publish button, okay, and wait that it happens. When you publish the information, if you link to the Action community, okay, or your community is linked with Action, okay, you will see your data in the Action data portal, okay. But okay, well, this webinar is finished, so I don't know if you have any question, or maybe we can create a user together, or you can start to create a user, a community at this moment, and we can start to upload resources. I don't know, whatever you want.
Thank you, Esteban. I would ask everybody who's watching, could you unmute yourselves if it's possible? And if it's not possible, I'm gonna, like, if I don't see anybody unmute, I'm going to unmute everybody. Okay, I think maybe I have to do that centrally. Hold on. Unmute all attendees. I can see that. Ah, yes, people are starting to come unmuted. Okay, so do we have any questions?
Yes, this is Rafael speaking. I got one question for Esteban. Yes, the registering process is it all done in the Zenodo portal, or we have to do something in your portal as well?
No, No, it's only in Zenodo portal.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So all the interaction is through Zenodo. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the data portal of Action is basically a website where you can see the outputs, no, the results.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks.
Are people able to opt out of showing their participation in the repositories on the website, or is it automatic?
Sorry, can you repeat? Because I have problems with the connection. Sorry. Can you repeat?
Can people opt out of having that information shared if they wanted to?
They can delete the resources they want.
But the only way, so it's automatic, the only way to not have it show on the website. I mean, I can't imagine a situation where they want to, but just in
it's automatic.
Just to
it's
be
automatic.
Clear. Okay.
It's automatic. Okay. So the flow, okay, is the people interact with Zenodo. They have their own communities, okay, and we integrate the information of this community in the data portal of Action. Okay.
Got it.
It's a unidirectional flow, okay, from the Zenodo to our data portal.
Okay, great. I was wondering, do you have any advice on naming the files that people upload?
Well, of course, using a Persian number is very important, always, okay, in the file name. But I will say that use some 1 or 2 words to describe the resource. Okay, maybe what can be a generic word, okay, and another a more specific word. Okay? There are some people that use the name of the pilot, which is good also.
Okay. So you could have your pilot name and then some other identifier that relates to a variable that's part of the data set. Yeah. Okay.
For example,
I always used to get myself in such a mess naming files.
Yes. I don't know if you are publishing data for, I don't know, temperature or sensor, but you can put the name of your project and slash sensor or temperature sensor slash a version number. In this case, for example, in the case of the data is very particular because sometimes, and it's very useful, the people add information regarding the period of time. Okay. So imagine that your data is from the June 2020. Okay. So I think it's good to add this information to the file name also.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question? I have more questions, but I want to.
Yes, I do. I actually use the hand raising function.
Yes, so I see.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering, because looking back to my notes from the kickoff meeting in Berlin, I remember you suggested me to use EpiCollect app, EpiCollect software to put my data. So do I not have to do that anymore? Because now everything should be on Zenodo.
No. Well, it's in this case, EpiCollect is not connected with Zenodo. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this case, you have to download the data from EpiCollect. Okay. Cleaning, because, for example, if you ask for any personal data, you cannot publish in Zenodo without a consent form. Okay, that's important. Okay, but you can clean this data and upload to Zenodo. Basically, in EpiCollect, you can download from a CSV file, but you have to do it manually.
Okay. I'm confused about why I need to upload them in both of these software.
Can you repeat, please?
I'm only confused about why I have to do it on both of these platforms.
When you say both of these platforms, you say EpiCollect and Zenodo, no Action
Yes.
Data Portal. Okay. So, so the information of EpiCollect, okay, is in some host of EpiCollect is inside of the European Union. Well, not because it's UK, so right now we don't know yet exactly. But basically, in EpiCollect, you are going to generate with the contribution of the people, and Zenodo is for publishing this data. Okay, that's the main difference between the two platforms. So the data in Zenodo is not published, at least following the open science fair principles. Okay, it's accessible. Okay, it's public because everybody can see it. Okay, but it's not properly described. Okay, and of course they don't have a digital object identifier. Okay, so that's the reason to use our data portal. Okay, not our data portal. Sorry, a data portal like Zenodo. Okay, so you have to download from there and upload to Zenodo. Okay, so basically you download like a zip file or maybe a CSV file, and you just only upload to your community inside of Zenodo. So you remember, first you have to create a specific community in Zenodo. Okay.
Okay.
And then we have a question from Raphael.
Yes, well, first to clarify that EpiCollect 5 is an application to gather data. It's just for you to manage your citizen science with your contributors, okay? And as Esteban said, you just gather data there, and then you create it, you process it, or whatever, and then when you publish it, you upload it to Zenodo, where everybody else will have the chance to see the published results, okay? But the question is, when you, it was a simple one, when you register with Zenodo, you said that you have to add your own community, but let's say that Jaime registers himself with Zenodo and adds Street Spectra. May I just join Street Spectra, or do I have to create my own community? That's not clear for me.
Well, from the perspective of action of the data portal, you have to create a community, okay? Because we are indexing the data from specific communities, not from the user. But
Okay,
of course, you can upload your data to your specific user, okay? But it's not a community, okay?
Okay.
And we cannot integrate this information in the data portal.
So the creation of our own community is just for your data portal purposes, to index the information.
Well, there are two objectives. The first, of course, is to report and to see the information in the data portal, okay? But the other is, well, sometimes it's good to create a collection of digital objects, but related between them. Imagine that you are working in several communities. If you upload all the information, all the resources in your user, there was a mishap because you will see resources from a lot of projects inside of your user, okay, of your Zenodo user. But in this case, it's a way to organize the information, okay? So you create a community for a specific project and you upload the information there, okay? You cannot mix the information, the resources from different projects in a one specific place, okay? It's a way to organize the information, basically.
Okay.
Is there a way for contributors who have like a login on Zenodo to flag that they're contributors to a data set? So if you have a Zenodo
I have problem with the connection, sorry.
If you have a Zenodo account,
yes,
are you able to claim contribution to someone else's uploaded data?
Yeah. There are different ways. Okay, the first is if you have data that you want to link with other projects, you have to use the community metadata field. Okay, so you can add there, for example, this data is used in this for example, when you link your resource to a specific community, what that is mean the data is in your community, okay, but it means that in the landing page of this community, you can see this data. Okay, it's basically like a linking way to do it. Okay, and another way is using the related identifiers. So in the related identifier, you can say, okay, this data is used in this paper that is published in other different community. Okay, so this is another way to relate different resources inside of Zenodo.
I was thinking more about, you know, how you were talking about listing the contributors in the metadata.
Oh, okay.
And I was thinking, you know, if people have an account already and they are a contributor, is there a function within Zenodo that says that they can link themselves?
I don't think so. No.
No, so it's the responsibility of the person who uploads it only.
Yes, yes. The only way to relate users or researchers in this case is using the author field in the metadata but only in the authors. Okay, the author section. Okay, but this is authored is not related with Zenodo platform. Is with an international platform. Okay, of researchers.
So everyone named there has to have an ORCID ID?
No, they don't have a name, an ID. If you
they don't have to.
The only way to use an ID, okay, in the research domain is the authored. Okay, so you have to register in other platform, okay, to get this ID, and you can use it in Zenodo to name this person. Okay.
But you don't have to. You can just put their name.
Yeah, you can. Yes, this is not mandatory. Sorry, it's optional.
Right. Gotcha. Very good. Do we have any other questions from anybody? There's no hands raised and there's no microphones coming on. I did have one other question. Which is about, you know, so you add the metadata for your file, and then presumably Zenodo also has Zenodo generated metadata. Does it append that metadata onto your metadata, or is there some kind of like Zenodo organizational metadata that they keep separately then?
It is a metadata. Okay. We only have one kind of metadata in Zenodo, and this is the fields that I show you in the presentation today. So we don't have more metadata.
Okay.
Just only these fields.
Very good. Lovely. Then I think looks like we're good to go. Thank you very much, Esteban.
Thank you. So if anyone needs some help, okay, to create a community or to upload resources, just please send me an email and I will help you. No problem.
Great. Then thank you for attending, everybody. Thank you once again, Esteban.